The gravity of the time is such that every new avenue of peace, no matter how dimly discernible, should be explored. Never before in history has so much hope for so many people been gathered together in a single organization. You will provide a great share of the wisdom, of the courage, and the faith which can bring to this world lasting peace for all nations and happiness and well-being for all men.
So today we're here with Jean-Michel Hoorelbeke, the Senior Advisor for Foresight and Strategy at the French National Radioactive Waste Management Agency, Andra. Great to have you here, Jean-Michel, at the World Nuclear Exhibition 2021.
Thank you, I'm happy to.
Yes, excellent. Well, I'd love to start off by talking about your background and how you got into nuclear energy and waste management from the very beginning.
Sure. Maybe I should start that with I have 40 years of background and experience in nuclear waste management. Not only nuclear, but waste management. Mm-hmm. This is my expertise.
Yes.
In the very beginning, I worked with the French Atomic Commission.
CEA, right?
Yes, CEA. But afterwards, I joined Andra and have been with Andra for maybe more than 30 years.
Excellent, excellent.
At that time, Andra was not as it is today. Today, it is an independent government agency, independent from waste producers. Mm-hmm. At that time, when I started to work with Andra, Andra was a department within the CEA, within the French Atomic Commission.
And what was your role when you first joined Andra? What were you doing when you first started out back when it was part of CEA?
My personal history is that my education was mining engineer. Education, not professional experience. Maybe I have a 6 months professional experience in a uranium mine. That's But this expertise interested at that time the CEA, because the CEA started a program on geological disposal for nuclear waste. So they thought at that time that mining engineer with some knowledge in geology could be interesting. So that's the reason why I started with the CEA 40 years ago.
Yes, and so back when you began working with CEA and Andra, I guess today we're just starting to have kind of some of the first steps towards making a concrete project for geological disposal. Can you talk us through the history of seeing this project come to life through your career?
Yes, this project is going to be licensed. I hope it will be licensed maybe in 5 years or something like that. And afterwards we will start construction. But for me, it's not the first step toward concrete things. The first step was in 2000 with the construction of the underground research laboratory in Bure.
Yes.
That was a good, long history which started in 1991.
And what were the objectives of the underground research laboratory?
To assess the feasibility of a safe geological disposal facility. It was research and development. From 1991 up to 2005, Andra was only in charge of a research program on the feasibility of geological disposal. And we needed this laboratory, underground laboratory, to characterize a potential host rock and to assess that we can be capable to construct underground drifts, underground openings in this geological formation, and that this geological formation would be capable to contain the radionuclides for a very long time.
Yes.
And that was the objective of this, the initial objective of this laboratory. But afterwards, in 2005, we provided the government and the country, I would say, with a feasibility report. The conclusion that was that it is possible to construct, to build an industrial scale geological disposal facility in this geological formation.
Yes.
And that this disposal facility will be very safe. That means that it will be capable to contain radionuclides for hundred thousands of years, several hundred thousands of years. And we provided the government with this conclusion, this report, and this report was reviewed by many people, and in particular the French regulator. Afterwards, an act was voted to declare that the reference route for the management of high-level radioactive waste is geological disposal. And I would say our real project for an industrial scale geological disposal facility started in 2006 or 2007. We passed from a pure research phase to the preparation of an industrial project.
And that project is the
Cigéo. The name was given to the project, I think, in 2009 or something like that, to highlight that we were passing from a research phase to an industrial phase. The Cigéo project.
Yes. And so as you said earlier, this project is, I believe, in the permitting phase. For getting construction licenses, but it'll be at the same site as the laboratory we were just discussing.
Close.
Very close.
It's not the same facility. It's not exactly the same site. The underground research facility was designed only for research. It is impossible to put radioactive waste in the URL. It's too small, and it's clear. But on the basis of this underground research laboratory, we were in position to characterize a regional area around the laboratory, around 250 square kilometers. And we said in 2006, we explained that this 250 square kilometers area is similar to underground laboratory, and if we build a repository in this area, we can use
all the data
gained in the laboratory. And then a new siting phase started in 2006 within this 250 square kilometers area. The result is the underground facility for Cigéo is maybe 5 kilometers far from the underground research laboratory. But we will have an inclined drift between the future underground facility and the surface to ship the underground the waste packages, waste. And the location of this inclined drift is very close to the location of the underground research laboratory. That's the reason that they are very close. But they are close on the surface, not so close underground. A few kilometers distance between both. This is the result of our siting campaign, which included, of course, technical issues, but mainly social issues.
Actually, I'd love to hear about some of the public kind of engagement that you all have been able to do, obviously because the laboratory has been there for so long, but also now that we're in the planning phase, kind of what the public engagement and the public sentiment has been.
We have performed a number of consultations with local public. In the very first phase, that was around 1993 or something like that, to implement the URL, because the siting of the URL was based on volatilism. At that time, the we were not directly responsible for the siting. The siting was made under the auspices of a member of the parliament at that time. But of course, that was based on voluntarism. Later, from 2006, we were in charge of the siting of the Cigéo project itself, and we have made a number of consultations with the public, with the local stakeholders, local elected people, and the public to define where the facilities should be for to optimize everything, including the relationship with the local communities. And today we still have consultations with the public to define some concrete aspects of the project, such as how to transport waste packages, how to how to provide power, how to provide water, and also we have a consultation on the future governance of the facility itself, how we will govern the successive phases which will occur when we will be licensed.
Yeah, so I would love to talk to you about that idea, the successive phases, the kind of stepwise development plans. I'd also like to kind of hear your perspective on some of the innovations that this facility has kind of built into its design, into its planning. The idea of reversibility, for example. So
reversibility is a key word. But this word is relatively old. The French government decided that the geological disposal should be investigated in the logic of reversibility. They decided that in 1998. But we had to transform this very general word into concrete solutions.
Right.
And it's clear that the stepwise development is a key point. We have had a number of milestones, of decision milestones, from 2006 up to now, and this very stepwise process will continue. After the license, we will start a so-called industrial pilot phase.
Yeah, and what does that entail?
It includes the verification that everything works as planned. That we can construct full-size openings from the shafts, inclined drift, and underground drifts. Underground vaults for the disposal for the emplacement of the waste packages, that we can also implement mechanical systems to transfer underground the waste in a very safe manner. And finally, that we can emplace the waste package in a very safe manner, and also that we can retrieve it if decided, and of course
monitor
to monitor everything, to check that there is no particular problem compared to what is planned. This is the pilot phase, and during the pilot phase, we will at the end of the pilot phase, or I would say the second period of the pilot phase, includes the waste package emplacement test, but in the firstly with mock-ups, but afterwards with real packages. It's an industrial phase. It's very similar to an industrial operation. So during this pilot phase, we will emplace waste packages. We will emplace intermediate level waste packages and also some high level waste.
You'll do HWH.
HLW, yes. A small amount of high level waste. because it's mainly to check that everything works as planned. And at the end of this pilot phase, we will have to report if everything is okay or not. And normally a new act will be required to decide to go to the next phase.
I see.
And the story will not stop at that time, because we still have other milestones. In particular, after the pilot phase, we plan to in place ILW, mainly, or I would say only, intermediate level waste, up to around 2080. And in around 2080, we will have to decide if we dispose of high level waste.
I see.
And the most important part of the hazardness, of the hazard of the waste is in the high level waste. And I think we will have a very long experience of geological disposal before deciding to dispose of the high level waste around 2080. During the transition phase from now to 2080, the radioactivity of this high level waste decreases. The thermal decay, and so at that time the high level waste will be compatible with the safety of the repository with respect to its thermal output.
And so this repository will be able to house all of France's intermediate level waste as well as its high level waste?
Yeah.
Great.
It is designed to accommodate all the intermediate level and high level waste that already exist, that were produced from and also those which will be produced by the actual power plants in France up to their shutdown.
Into their lifetimes.
Excellent.
And so I, of course, in addition to this kind of stepwise development plan, where we have all these milestones for testing and verification, something I also thought was really interesting about the project is how it's funded, and how there's particular attention paid to ensuring that the funding is coming from current.
The funding does not come from the government, does not come from the taxpayers. The funding comes from the waste producers. Waste producers are responsible for all expenses, for the dismantling of their facilities and the management of their waste. But to be sure that we will have the money in the future, today they prepare, they make financial provisions which are very safe, which are very controlled, so that we are sure that we will get the money when we need it for the pilot phase, but also for the phases after.
And so it's kind of coming back to your role in all of this, in this project, and of course at just in the organization in general, as your senior advisor for Foresight, looking into the future and strategy. So kind of the current vision of the organization. Kind of where do you see yourself? What is the most interesting thing to you that you're currently working on as part of this project or elsewhere?
First, I can say that I think the most important part of my career was a 15-year period where I was project manager for this Cigéo project that was between 1993 and 2006. I was a project manager, so that was very fun, very, very nice, because we had to develop the safety strategy, how to develop the safety strategy of the safety case of this project, how to develop reversibility, to go from a single word to concrete solutions, and also to design a facility in this in this clay formation. It's clay, it's not granite. We have to adapt to we adapt the design to the geology. If you compare the Cigéo project and the Swedish project, for instance, you can see differences. This is due to very different geological formations. So all this was made during this period where I was project manager. And afterwards, I have had several various positions in Andra, program management, safety, environment, and now foresight and strategy, how we imagine the future. But clearly it's on the basis of my background.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like it's been a really fascinating career to get to, take something that was just a vision and a request of government, and to turn it into something very real that is going to be impactful for enabling, clean energy used by the future generations and the safe storage of the waste produced by that energy production.
In my country, we have a very wide range of nuclear waste. 90% of the volume of waste which is produced today is disposed of by Andra in near surface facilities.
Right, low level.
The very high level waste, the waste with the highest hazard, will be disposed of. I hope that they will be disposed of in Cigéo. But we also have in between waste, and we are now thinking of graded solutions for disposing these in between waste that are not compatible with near surface disposal. But we consider that Cigéo is is not adapted to this in-between waste. And we have significant programs in France and with Andra to develop new solutions for this waste. So
Can you give me an example of the type of waste? Are you talking about, objects, equipment that have been exposed to radioactive sources, or what are these types of waste that you're
this in-between waste, graphite waste from the very first generation of nuclear plants in France, radium-bearing waste. They are not. Some are nuclear, others are not from the nuclear industry. Radium-bearing waste, also uranium conversion waste. When you turn a yellow cake into UF4 before enrichment, you generate uranium-bearing waste that are in between. And also, we also have another category of waste we are working on. It's depleted uranium. Depleted uranium can be recycled in the future in fast breeder reactors. But for to be sure that we take into account all possibilities in the future, we also have to imagine how we could dispose of this depleted uranium in the case it would not be recycled in the future.
Right.
And we consider also that it's an in-between waste.
And this is something that you're currently exploring to be for Cigéo to house this type of waste as well.
It's Cigéo can be an option for disposing this, but we are also investigating other options which may be more graded options, graded to the intermediate level of hazard of these in-between waste.
Risk graded.
So we are working on shallow depth solutions. And it's a long history. So research and development is not finished today in France with the engagement of Cigéo project. We have to continue research for the future phases of Cigéo, but we also have to continue research for developing new solutions for waste management.
Yeah, so I guess we'll kind of wrap up. I'd love to kind of hear in a few sentences what you see as kind of the future of radioactive waste management in France and kind of the leadership role that your country and your organization are playing in this space.
The future is the best wish we can have is that in maybe 1 decade or 1 decade, I would say, we have solutions for all waste. Today we have solutions for 90% of the waste, 95% if we consider also the Cigéo, but my wish is that we will have a solution for all the waste, maybe it will be a stepwise project, system to develop new solutions. I think we will progress significantly in the next 5 years, but afterwards we will have to go on.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's great to see that you you have that foresight, and you and your organization are leading the way, and that France is leading the way in this. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And initiate at least a new approach to the many difficult problems that must be solved in both private and public conversation if the world is to shake off the inertia imposed by fear and is to make positive progress toward peace.